Let's get one thing clear. When William and Catherine quietly purchased Forest Lodge, they weren't just buying a new home. They were sending a message. No press release, no drama. Just a graceful move into a stately Windsor estate, tucked away with class and history stitched into every brick. But on the other side of the Atlantic, that silence was deafening. Because for Meghan Markle, it wasn't just about real estate. It was about power. And that move hit her like a slap. See, Montecito looks good on paper. Sprawling lawns, a massive mansion, California sunshine. But in Meghan's mind, it's starting to feel like a gilded cage. Because despite all the Netflix deals, the magazine covers, and the endless press runs, there's something missing. Legacy. That quiet, generational permanence that can't be bought or branded. Forest Lodge, in contrast, is dignity incarnate. No flashy headlines. Just royalty doing what royalty does, moving with calm authority. And Meghan? She saw that as a personal loss. She's spiraling, insiders say, obsessing over every article, every photo of Catherine gracefully unpacking boxes on Windsor soil, comparing her life in California to the very dream she once had, being the queen of royal charm, with a title that meant something and a seat at the table. Back when she was still wearing the Duchess crown like a badge of honor. But now, that dream's dust, and it burns. For her, Forest Lodge was the life she wanted. Elegance, privacy, status, a powerful image for the public and a secure place in the royal future. Now, it's in Catherine's hands. Catherine, who never needed to hustle her brand. Catherine, who doesn't chase cameras, doesn't scramble for relevancy. Meghan watches all of this unfold from Montecito, and it's not just jealousy, it's fear. Because the public is watching too, and they're drawing their own conclusions. It doesn't help that Harry's reportedly making things worse. Instead of helping her move forward, he's the one reminding her of what they gave up. The estates, the legacy, the ceremonies. Every time a royal moment trends online, every time the firm gets a PR win, it's another reminder of what they threw away. The resentment builds, it festers. Harry isn't the calming voice, he's the gasoline. And here's where it gets brutal. Catherine doesn't say a word. She doesn't need to. Her silence is her weapon. While Meghan hustles to control the narrative with podcast appearances and strategic leaks, Catherine just lives. She shows up, smiles for the cameras when necessary, and retreats into that quiet luxury the royals are known for. And the British public? They eat it up. Approval ratings, through the roof. Meanwhile, Meghan and Harry can't catch a break. Even their most loyal fans are starting to question what's real. Every shot of Forest Lodge feels like a victory lap for William and Catherine and a warning shot for Meghan and Harry. Because it's not just about losing the house, it's about losing the narrative. And once you lose that, the titles are next. That's what's got Meghan panicking behind the gates of Montecito. She knows what's coming. The whispers are louder now, in private circles, in royal commentary. Stripping the Sussex titles is no longer a far-fetched idea. It's a conversation. Why should a couple who abandoned their duties and spent years tearing down the institution still enjoy the prestige of Duke and Duchess? What's left of the title when the loyalty is gone? And here's the real fear. Without the titles, there's no brand, no illusion of royalty, no elite invitations. They become just another celebrity couple in an already crowded space. No throne, no history, just headlines. And in Meghan's world, that's the ultimate loss. The very thing she built her new life on. Those two words, Duke and Duchess, might be ripped away. And the panic we're seeing now, that's her realizing the clock is ticking. In California, the Montecito mansion is still standing. The lawns are still manicured. The pool still glistens under the sun, but something's shifted inside. The energy, the confidence, the illusion of victory, it's cracking. Insiders say Meghan walks the halls like a restless ghost, scrolling news feeds, replaying interviews in her head, and rethinking every decision that got them there. She had the spotlight, she had the stage, but what does she have now that Catherine holds the crown in silence? That's the part that stings the most. Catherine's rise wasn't loud, it wasn't forced. There were no documentaries, no emotional tell-alls, no strategic deals. just a consistent presence, a quiet grace that grew stronger with time. Meghan tried to run a sprint, Catherine played the long game, and now, in the eyes of Britain and much of the world, one woman embodies duty and the other embodies drama. That contrast has never been clearer. The talk of titles being stripped isn't just gossip anymore. Palace insiders, royal commentators, even former aides, they're all acknowledging it. There's a growing belief that the Sussex titles are no longer sustainable. The institution is about image, tradition, and loyalty. And Meghan and Harry, with their podcasts, their Netflix shows, and their public grievances, just don't align with that. Not anymore. The more they distance themselves from the crown, the more they risk losing the very titles that gave them weight in the first place. And Meghan knows it. That's what's fueling the unease. She built a brand around being Duchess Meghan. She pitched herself as the modern royal, the voice of change within an outdated system. But without that title, what's left? Just another high-profile name in a sea of celebrities. The glamour fades quickly when the royal glow disappears. No more HRH, just Meghan. Harry, for his part, is reportedly not handling it well either. For someone raised in the heart of the monarchy, this fall from grace cuts deep. He went from walking in royal processions to chasing Hollywood deals. And while he tries to present a picture of liberation, those close to him say it's the opposite. There's frustration, bitterness, regret. Not about leaving the firm, but about what it cost, about what can't be reclaimed. What makes this all the more complicated is how effortless William and Catherine make it look. Their move into Forest Lodge wasn't just a real estate upgrade, it was a masterstroke in royal optics. No leaks, no scandals, no spectacle, just a graceful next step in their journey as future king and queen. And the public responded. The media praised the purchase, high society applauded their discretion, even critics struggled to find something to complain about. That's the cruel irony Meghan faces. Every PR push she makes only emphasizes how little effort Catherine needs to stay beloved. Catherine doesn't need to tell her story. People are already writing it for her. The silent strength, the supportive wife, the future queen. Meanwhile, Meghan is stuck fighting for narrative control, and the harder she pushes, the more artificial it all seems. In royal circles, perception is everything, and right now, the perception is brutal. One couple is living proof of stability and legacy. The other is seen as exiled royals clinging to a brand that no longer fits. And the more Meghan and Harry try to hold on, the more obvious the gap becomes. The Forest Lodge move didn't just shake the Sussexes emotionally, it exposed a shift that might be irreversible, not just in status, but in story. The streets of Montecito are quiet, but inside the gates of the Sussex estate, there's a storm brewing. Meghan's team is scrambling, media consultants, brand strategists, legal advisors, trying to find a way to shift the narrative. They know what's at stake. One announcement from the palace and the titles vanish, and without them, the whole empire they built could collapse overnight. Not financially, maybe. They'll still have money, but the prestige, the pull, the royal allure that gave their brand its edge, gone. Meghan built her platform on being a royal outsider with insider access. That title gave her weight, made her story interesting. Stripped of it, she's no longer a royal rebel. Just another former actress in designer clothes talking about her truth. It's not the same. Not to the media, not to the public, not to the elite circles that once saw her as the fresh face of a changing monarchy. And that realization is hitting harder than she ever expected. Even their supporters are starting to feel the fatigue. The audience that once cheered them on now watches with folded arms, wondering if the couple has anything new to offer. The sympathy they earned from early interviews has been spent. And now, every headline feels like a rerun. A new PR move, a new deal, a new statement. But the core message stays the same. They left and the crown didn't follow. Meanwhile, in London, the palace remains silent, cold, calculated silence. They don't need to rush. They know time is on their side. Every quiet appearance by Catherine, every dignified gesture by William, every graceful royal engagement chips away at Meghan and Harry's image. The contrast becomes more vivid, more undeniable. And in this game, the monarchy doesn't need to play offense. They just need to let their opponents tire themselves out. Donors and power players have noticed too. Those who once saw potential in the Sussex brand, who thought aligning with Meghan and Harry was a smart, modern move, are quietly backing away. Some have already cut ties. Others are waiting to see if the titles stick, because no one wants to bet on a fading star. In high society, relevance is currency. And right now, the Sussex Bank is running low. The whispers inside the palace are no longer just whispers. Conversations about removing the titles have reached serious levels. Advisors argue that the monarchy cannot allow its prestige to be used for personal ventures, especially when those ventures often criticize the very institution the titles represent. It's not about punishment, it's about preservation. The crown doesn't forget, and it doesn't forgive easily. For Harry, the threat is existential. He may not miss the ceremonies or the royal protocols, but he misses being part of something bigger. Invictus, military engagements, national service. That sense of purpose is harder to replicate in Hollywood meetings and podcast pitches. And when the titles go, he doesn't just lose a label, he loses the last piece of that world he once called home. For Meghan, the panic is different. It's about image, control, legacy. She's spent years trying to rewrite her story, to shift the narrative in her favor. But the world isn't buying it anymore. Not when Catherine rises without speaking and she has to fight for every inch of attention. That imbalance is unbearable. Forest Lodge wasn't meant to destroy them, but it did something worse. It exposed them. It showed the world what grace under pressure really looks like, and what happens when you mistake noise for power. Meghan and Harry may still have fame, but in the eyes of the public, the monarchy has already chosen its future, and it doesn't include them.